Good morning, traders, and welcome to the week ahead with Traders for Traders. Okay, it should be a pretty exciting week coming up for us. Market themes this week, I think, will continue on from what we've seen over the last 2 or 3 weeks and since the start of the year. So I suppose the main theme we've seen, certainly in currencies, has been following the stock markets, and that's been led by China and a bit of a crash across the Chinese indices. And so if we have a look across here, you can probably see that they're coming in once again about flat today at the moment. We're just hanging in lunchtime in Sydney at the moment, but Nikkei is down 1.6%, the Topix is down, so still continuing on with that same theme that we've seen really for the last few weeks. Yeah, equities sitting here, Nikkei down 1.5%. As I said, Chinese indices basically flat at the moment. They have been the major leader. And the main currencies we're looking to trade with them are probably closest linked to China, and by proxy we're trading the Aussie and the Kiwi. And let's just have a quick look at the Aussie chart, see how far this has come down. Here's the start of the year. Aussie trading up above 72.50. And I suppose in cahoots with the Chinese stock market, we're now sitting down. We've been underneath 68.50, so decent move there. That's also reflected across in the Kiwi, although probably not quite as dramatically. Here you go, up at 68 the figure, been down to sub 64 levels. The real ones that have taken a big smacking are, of course, the Kiwi yen. And the Aussie yen, more importantly. So Aussie yen getting a real good smack on the back of that. Let me just bring you over. And of course, dollar yen. Dollar yen has got that close relationship with the stock markets, the Nikkei in particular. And if we draw this chart out a little bit as well, you'll see dollar yen's come from sort of higher above 120, and we've been down to 116.50. So all in a downward trend, and probably that's going to continue this week, but the stock markets will give us that lead. So I'm certainly in a sell rally mood in yen, Aussie yen, Kiwi yen, and Aussie and Kiwi, and of course sterling as well has had a pretty decent move down. So sterling was trading up around 148. It's been down to nearly 142 now. So big focus this week as well. If we look through the fundamental data release calendar, the big currencies that I suppose we're going to have a focus on, because we will get some catalysts that will move them one way or the other fairly sharply. Sterling's the first one up, so we've got CPI data, RPI data, and retail sales out in the UK. And the other big one I was looking at is CAD. Now, of course, CAD has had the other big thing that's hitting the market is oil is getting a good smacking as well, and you'll be seeing that at the local petrol stations. But there we are, we're sub 30 still and holding in nicely for the last few sessions. The main trade that we see on the back of that is of course CAD depreciating, dollar CAD appreciating. Dollar CAD's up from sort of 139 up to 145, 146 plus over the last few weeks. We've got the Bank of Canada coming out this week, and we've got some decent Canadian data as well. So they're the big focus. We're on the 3rd week of the month, and we don't tend to see massive numbers coming out, certainly not on non-farms week. But there are some good data, and that's why we're looking for, one, the trend trades, which are going with the current themes, which is oil decreasing and stock markets getting hit, giving us volatility in those currencies. And of course, as I've just mentioned, the oil, that still gets hit. CAD, dollar yen also get a bit of mention on anything oil. We have got 2 central banks announcing well, probably not rate moves, let's be honest, but their rates this week, ECB, obviously one of the biggest in the world, and the Bank of Canada. So let's just go through the week for you guys, just to make you prepared. Monday, very quiet day. We're halfway through, or nearly 3/4 way through our session here in Sydney. Not been much out at all. Secondary figures out in Australia, inflation gauge and new motor vehicle sales. Very much 3rd tier stuff in Japan as well. And then into the European session, we've got Italian trade balance. That's pretty much it. Nothing really coming up. We've got the Martin Luther holiday in the US. So not much going on over there. It will be sort of like the long weekend style thing coming in. most people are open, but liquidity will be lower and we will get a bit of excess volatility. So tailor your trading around that. Now, tomorrow we do kick in with some decent figures. In the Asian session, we've got Chinese GDP and industrial production. They are big numbers. We'll be looking to trade the Aussie and Kiwi on the back of that. Dollar China, of course, is another option, but you get much more well, you just get better trading conditions with the Aussie and Kiwi because the spreads are tighter, and you'll get better fills. Now that's 1 p.m. Sydney tomorrow. Certainly something to keep an eye on. 6.9% is the forecast for Chinese GDP quarter on year, and the industrial production year on year 6%. So that will move the market, specifically the Aussie and Kiwi. Keep an eye on that stuff. Fairly quiet for the rest of that session. Moving into the European session, we've got some secondary data out in Germany, the final CPI, something in the PPI in Switzerland as well. But the big number tomorrow, and I think we skipped through it before, was the CPI data in the UK. So CPI year on year expectation is for 0.1 to come out, or 0.2 Reuters. So 0.1 is Bloomberg, 0.2 core CPI. And 0 for CPI month on month. Keep an eye on that. Any disparity from expectation, we will see cable move very quickly and fairly hard. So downtrend is still in place. I'm still happy to be looking probably to sell back up to 144, the figure where this resistance trend line is coming in. Now, really good numbers could see that break higher, but you've got a fair distance to go before we get back up there. It'd be interesting to see where we are before that. Now, also Tuesday evening for us, Tuesday morning in the UK and in Europe, we've got the German ZEW economic sentiment. That's coming out 9 p.m. Sydney time. Expectation is for 8.2. Have a crack at that. Euro will move on the back of that. It is a tier 1 data, and it is something to get your teeth into. Now, I'm not seeing anything great coming out of Europe, but Euro is rallying to a certain extent. Really, it's sideways. This is because we've got sort of a strange relationship with the stock market. So when the stock markets get hit, Euro actually comes back better bid on the back of a lower dollar. Strange sort of relationship there, whereas Aussie, Kiwi, Sterling in particular are getting a smack. So keep an eye on that, but that ZEW could give you a true European trade. That's pretty much it for Tuesday's session. Into Wednesday morning for us, I suppose the end of Tuesday for the guys in the US. People with Kiwi positions, the dairy trade prices are out. They tend to come out sort of 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Sydney time. They do have a big bearing on the Kiwi, and you can see it move 50, 60 points very quickly. Things aren't looking good. I think the last note I saw out of Fonterra, which is the biggest organisation in New Zealand, is that I think number 3%, December's numbers were 3% down on the previous year. So I suppose to continue with this trend, we're looking for lower numbers out of New Zealand. That's Wednesday in the very early AM. Now, following that, data out of New Zealand from the Bureau of Statistics, CPI quarter-on-quarter data, 8:45 a.m. Sydney time. Expectation is for minus 0.2%. So, guys with Kiwi could become a bit of a focus for Wednesday morning early for us here in Asia, and late Tuesday for the guys in the US and the UK. There will certainly be some moves if any of that data comes out away from expectation. Moving into the rest of our session, we've got the Westpac consumer sentiment here in Australia, and that's pretty much it for the Asian session. Into the European session, once again, and I said we've got a big week in the UK. We've got the claimant count change, so that's the employment data. Unemployment rate sitting at 5.2. That is, it's not expected to change. So if we do get a change, if we do get decent numbers out of the UK, sterling will once again be what the go-to currency. As I said, it's been on a big knockdown. It's been knocked down against the dollar, and it's also been knocked down against the euro. These could be great trades if we get some decent figures out of the UK. After that evening as well, so Wednesday evening, Thursday morning for us here in Asia, the Wednesday session for the UK, we've got decent Canadian data. We've got manufacturing sales coming out, and as I said, there is a big focus on CAD. It's had a great move because of the oil, and that's when we've got, it's 12:30 a.m. Sydney time. That's when we've got the big US data, the core CPI numbers. That's expected to come out at 0, so Any differentiation from that, we'll see a big move in the dollar. That's followed an hour and a half later, so 2 a.m. Sydney time. That's going to be 3 p.m. over in the UK. I'm not quite sure on the US, sorry guys. Bank of Canada. So they will come out with their rate. If they've got a change, there's an expectation for it to go to a quarter. We'll see what the statement comes out as well. So don't forget, if we come out on expectation, you won't see too much. That statement could be very interesting given the recent move in oil and given the recent moves in the currency. So it could be a bit whippy for guys with Canadian dollar positions. That's 2 a.m. Thursday, as I said. Into the Friday session here. Not too much in the Asian session at all. Second and third tier data out of New Zealand. New Zealand manufacturers index, inflation expectations in Australia, all industries activity in Japan. So pretty quiet, not much going on. Then of course Thursday night we move in. We've got the ECB. That's 11:45 Sydney time. Be very interesting. Certainly the guys in London will be covering it for a webinar for us. Then there's a press conference 45 minutes later. That is what normally gets the euro moving one way or the other. Now, I think last time I said, last month I was sort of don't really expect too much out of it coming in December, and we got a huge move. So certainly keep an eye on that. And then, of course, we move into Friday's session. Once again, very quiet in Asia. We haven't really got much to talk about at all. But then we move through to the European session. We've got a whole raft of data for a Friday. So flash manufacturing PMI data out, France, Germany, and Europe as a whole. Then once again, more big numbers in the UK. Retail sales expected to come out minus 0.1%. This, once again, this is a big week for the sterling. So I know there's a lot of contrarian traders out there certainly looking to buy sterling either against the dollar and certainly against the euro. People think it's at greatly inflated levels from a macro perspective against the euro. So sitting up here at 76.31 at the moment. A lot of people looking to get into a short euro sterling position. One of the data. The core data coming out of the UK could be the fundamental reason to get into that position. So keep an eye on that. Friday, 8:30 p.m. Sydney. Moving into the Friday session in North America, got some more numbers out of Canada, core CPI and core retail sales. They're at midnight, half past midnight for Sydney time. So a late one for us, but certainly still in the middle of the session for the guys in London and New York. Check those out. They're the big ones I think to keep an eye out. The fundamental data this week, really the UK and Canada are going to be the ones that might get the catalyst to move them one way or another. And funny enough, both those currencies have had a big smacking since the start of the year. So contrarian traders looking for a change of direction, this week could be the week. If not, I think, and really the main theme is keeping an eye on those equities, keeping an eye on those stock markets. Risk-on trades, obviously, when the equities are rallying, be prepared to manage them very carefully and turn them around. Risk off, you'll see Aussie yen, Kiwi yen get smacked, dollar yen will get a hit. Aussie and Kiwi are moving down, as is sterling, and keep an eye on that euro. It's not sort of trading. We're not trading in tandem with the dollar all the time. So that's about it for this week, guys. Have a great session. If you need anything for us, members, please give us a shout in our live trade zone. Anyone else that's not a member but wants some info from Traders for Traders, please send us an email to info@tradersfortraders.com and we'll get straight back to you. Wish you the best of luck this week. I think it's going to be a good one. I can see these trends continuing. But once again, there's a possibility we might see a turn, certainly in the cable and certainly in the CAD, if things do go their way. All right, guys, good luck and we'll speak soon. Cheers.